Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Jewellers Academy podcast. My name is Elin Horgan. I'm a jewellery designer and maker based in beautiful Bristol in the UK. And today I'm really excited as I'm going to be speaking to Victoria Thomas, a freelance digital marketing specialist who helps businesses with their websites. Victoria specialises in search engine optimization and paid search via Google Ads. And today we're going to be talking about SEO, which is something I think all of us have heard of, even if we're not quite sure what it is. And we know we should be doing something about it. So hopefully this episode will provide a little bit of clarity. So welcome, Victoria. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really thrilled to be here. So thank you.
Great. Could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your business, please?
Yep, absolutely. So thank you for the intro. So my name is Victoria Thomas, and I help businesses with their websites. So I do that more specifically through SEO and Google Ads paid search activities. So it's all about the activities that help to improve your website visibility in search engine results. So I'm a freelancer. So I work with clients on an ongoing basis as well as a kind of a project basis as well.
Brilliant. Okay, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I think SEO is one of those topics that every one of us with a website knows we should be doing something about it, but we're not always quite sure what it is. And obviously, you know, every small business dream is that they drive more customers to their website. So I'm hoping that we can really get into it today and understand a bit more about what it is and how it might help us. So yeah, let's kick off then. I mean, what exactly is SEO?
So SEO, or search engine optimization, is essentially the process of making improvements to your website to increase its visibility in search engine results like Google. So hopefully that's a kind of a good summary of what it does, basically.
Okay. That sounds like an easy to understand way of describing it, which is really helpful. So why is it so important?
So whilst the ultimate aim for SEO is to rank higher in search engine results, it is the activities that are done to improve your website's SEO that all help to improve your website as a whole, your brand, and your sales. So a couple of years ago, I actually wrote a blog about 7 of the top reasons why SEO is important for small businesses. And whilst it could probably do with updating now, it is still relevant to today. And so if you're happy for me to, I'll just kind of summarize and go through those 7 top reasons.
Yeah, that sounds really helpful. Thank you.
Okay. So number 1, so SEO helps you to understand your customers. The keyword research that's done helps you to identify the words and phrases that your customers are putting into Google when looking for a business like yours or the products that you sell. So number 2, SEO improves the user experience on your website. So this will not only encourage people to spend more time on your website, they will want to visit again, and they're more likely to buy something, whether it's the first time they come or on a subsequent visit. Number 3, SEO helps you to build a stronger brand. So appearing in search results for keywords that are relevant to your business and customers, this will generate trust, which will in turn enhance your brand image. Number 4, SEO provides your business with more customers. So SEO is a key source of leads and revenue generation if you wish to generate more sales from your website. Number 5, SEO delivers a content strategy for your business. The keyword research that is done ensures that you are creating content that meets the needs and interests of your customers, which is obviously what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Number 6, SEO improves conversion rates on your website as well. So when the content and the user experience on your website meets the needs and wants of your potential customers, it will bring more qualified potential customers. Because remember, it's not just about driving any old traffic to your website. You want the right people visiting it, and those that are more likely to convert and buy something. Number 7, SEO provides your business with long-term success. So it's not a set up and leave kind of activity. It takes time and patience. But if you're willing to spend the time on it, then you will be rewarded with success over the long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think particularly that last point, because I know from talking to other jewelers and small business owners, I think sometimes we can feel like we've done our website. It's like, I've set up my website, now I'm just going to wait for everyone to come and find it. But of course, it's not like that at all. It's an ongoing process that you need to devote time to, presumably every week if you can, or every couple of weeks, to be doing something to move it along.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly right. A lot of businesses do kind of, you spend so much time working on your website with a web developer, and you create something really beautiful together, and you're so proud of it, and then you launch it and you think, great, that's it, off it goes. But unfortunately, that's just the beginning of your journey. Websites are constantly need kind of developing and updating and looking after, and it's a kind of an ongoing journey. So it's it is important to kind of look after your website, and it will reward you if you take care of it, basically.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. I think probably good for us all to get our heads around the fact that we need to be doing stuff on an ongoing basis. So,
Yeah.
do you need to be techie to get to grips with SEO, or is it something that everyone can do? Because I know there's probably lots of people listening who may have built their own websites on something like Shopify or Wix. Is it still possible to make improvements even if you're not technically minded?
Yeah, no, not absolutely, not at all. It's like I've said, like a lot of activities, it takes patience, and it's constantly evolving as search engines become more sophisticated. And what I, always say and feel very strongly about, it's important to remember that at the end of the day, you're selling to people, and not machines, not search engines. It's the people that are actually buying the products from you. So make sure that you're always aiming to make your website attractive to those people. Don't become fixated on making sure you've included keywords a certain number of times in a blog, or that your blog is of a particular length. That, like I said, they're becoming more sophisticated, and long gone are the days of trying to shoehorn keywords in multiple times and all those other kind of manipulative activities. It's just not, it shouldn't have been done anyway, but it's definitely not done anymore. It's the websites that have been created and written for people that will be rewarded with high rankings. And in terms of kind of whether you need to be techie or technical or not, it's one of those things, isn't it, that technical aspects are important for your website. However, there are other aspects that are equally important, such as the content, the words and the videos and the images. But what I would say is that if there are technical issues with your website, then no matter how good your content is, then your rankings will suffer. So your website won't appear as high in search results if you've got some, fundamental technical issues, because they are the kind of the foundations upon which you build a high quality and engaging site. So if you do want to check on the technical aspects of your website, then you can get a technical audit done, and that will give you a kind of a prioritized list of what needs fixing and how. But something that you can do yourself as a first step. And if it's okay, I'll just kind of talk you through it. It's not
Absolutely.
technical, don't
Yeah,
worry.
that sounds great.
It's pretty straightforward, hopefully. So as a first step, I would suggest that you check whether your website is actually showing up in Google search results. So you do this by going to Google, and then in the search bar, you type this. So you type site, SITE, colon, then the web address of your website, and then press return. And every page that has been indexed by Google will show up. So if every page is appearing in Google, then it will appear on that results. So as an example, so for my website, I would go there and I would type site, SITE, colon, Victoria Thomas Marketing.co.uk, and then press enter. And all the results will appear. And your homepage should be right at the top. If it's not there, then you know that your homepage and other pages on your website are not appearing in Google. So they're not going to be found by people who are looking for your website through a search engine, if that makes sense.
Okay, that's really interesting. That seems like a really simple first step that everyone can go away and do immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's can be quite revealing, quite interesting. And that multiple times people do that and their homepage is not there, and you think, oh dear, where's that gone? So there's a couple of reasons why it may not be showing, and that might be if your website is very new, then Google may not have come across it yet. And then the other reason could be that it's being blocked, from appearing in search engine results. So that's when you need to do some further investigation, basically. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's great. So an easy first step we can all take. I'm going to do this after after we've finished recording this episode. Great. Fingers crossed, my website comes up. So I think you touched on a few points already when you were going through your kind of 7 reasons to work on your SEO. But how does working on SEO improve your website? I think I was interested in what you said about it's not just about people finding you on Google. It's also about the sort of user experience when people are on the site as well.
Yeah. So absolutely, it's SEO just ensures that you're providing a good user experience, that your website is great, basically, and that your customers have a really enjoyable kind of shopping experience, so that they're then more likely to buy something and want to come back. It ensures that you're providing high quality and interesting and relevant content, and to encourage them to stay longer as well. So the user experience more and more is becoming really important. Google and is seeing the value in that, and it makes complete sense. You may have experienced it yourself when you've gone to a website and it's just a poor user experience. You can't find what you're looking for, buttons don't work, and it's just a bit of a nightmare to use, and you probably won't want to ever use it again. So you need to try and make sure that when customers are coming, it's easy for them to find what they're looking for. There's a clear button to add it to their cart. The checkout process is not too arduous or irritating, or just kind of providing a smooth, seamless process. That will help to encourage more people to buy from you. So
yeah, that's interesting, because I think often when if you've worked on your own website and set it up, you're quite clear about where everything is and where people need to click. But of course, if you've just landed on the site and you're trying to buy a pair of earrings, it's not necessarily obvious which collection they sit in or which category, if your categories aren't clear, or where you find the categories,
Mhm.
or I think sometimes not having a clear shop page, so it's not even obvious that
Yeah.
you can buy, are probably all things. I mean, we've probably all
Yeah.
done that you don't necessarily notice it until you put yourself in the mind of the consumer who's come on to look to buy
Yeah.
a piece of jewelry.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly it. Yeah, so it's just making sure that, yeah, like you said, basically, it's clear that you've got a shop, people can buy stuff, you've got your categories laid out, whether it's in the top navigation or somewhere else with and the names that you give those categories are um, you can still use the names of your collections and make sure it's clear that it's bracelets or earrings or whatever it might be, because yeah, like you say, that the user doesn't know what the name of your collection necessarily refers to. And get your friends and family to use the site and make sure that they think it's intuitive and makes sense and they can find what they're looking for. And look at what your competitors are doing and how they've got their sites laid out as well,
Mm.
to get ideas. And it is quite important to take the time, from the start, ideally, to make sure you've got the navigation clear,
Yeah.
and that's all, yeah,
Mm.
laid out
Okay,
laid
that's,
out
yeah,
well.
useful tips again about getting other people to
Mm,
take a look and give you a bit of feedback maybe on what's working and what isn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, great.
great.
So,
Um,
um, what are the kind of main things to think about? I know, people talk about keywords and the way images are tagged, and there's all sorts of things. But are there some key areas that we need to be thinking about if we're looking to improve um, our SEO?
yeah, well, it's a big area, but it doesn't necessarily mean it shouldn't be daunting at all. But um, there are kind of the three main areas, essentially, of SEO, and that's the technical SEO, which we've already talked about a little bit. So that's just making sure that there's no broken links,
Hmm.
nothing weird going on. It doesn't load really slowly. It looks good on a mobile device.
Mm.
Um, all those kind of technical aspects. And then there's the content, which is not just the words; it's the images and videos and any other kind of pieces of content that you have on your site, um, and that's what the user sees,
Yeah.
essentially.
Mm.
So that's obviously a really important part of SEO. And then the third area is the backlinks, um, and that is other websites that are linking to your website. Um, Now there is beginning to be a bit of a change in the prominence of backlinks,
Mhm.
because previously it was kind of viewed by search engines such as Google that kind of the more high quality backlinks you have, then the better your website, because if
Yeah.
more websites are linking to yours, then it must be good.
Mm.
Um, but it is being found that can be a bit of a sort of a popularity contest, and that companies would publish pieces of research which are obviously really good for generating links, people linking to these pieces of research. So it is still very important, but it's more and more about the technical bits and the content, and how high quality and engaging and useful that the content is in your site,
Mhm.
um, and having that kind of authoritative voice in your industry. Um, so when it comes to obviously trying to sell your pieces of jewelry, is to have really high quality product pages that very clearly display what the product is, has some nice images,
Mhm.
the product description, and it's easy to kind of go through the checkout process. And then it's the accompanying kind of pieces of content. So whether it's blogs and videos that are all about your kind of industry and jewelry and why you enjoy doing what you're doing, or what makes you different,
Mhm.
why people should buy your jewelry as opposed to someone else's. So whether it's kind of sustainable or it's recycled pieces of jewelry, and
Yeah.
just thinking about what makes you, you and your creative um, kind of design better or different to
Yeah.
other people,
Mm.
um, and making sure you're kind of really, really clear on that. But it's difficult because it's it's such a big area.
Yeah.
But yeah, just always think that I'm trying to encourage people to buy my products. So don't get too bogged down in the kind of the search engines and all that
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah, sure.
side.
So, I mean, in terms of things like product descriptions and blogs, I know you mentioned earlier on about keywords, and you were sort of saying like kind of moving away from like trying to cram in keywords constantly to everything. Um,
Mm,
they
yeah.
have to be done in a sort of meaningful way. Are they still important? I mean, how would somebody go about kind of finding out what their keywords were?
Yeah, so absolutely. Keywords are very, very important still. It's just about how you incorporate those into your websites.
Mm.
So, for example, Google knows now that there are different ways that you can essentially say the same thing, and different words mean a very similar thing. So you
Mm.
don't have to be constantly repeating the same the same word or phrase over and over. You can, say it in a different way. Um, but yeah, keywords are really important, and the research that you do to sort of generate what your keywords are is really important, and it kind of provides you with a framework from which you can create or write your content, because it
Mm.
helps to ensure that you're creating content that is going to appeal to your customer. Um, so what I would suggest in terms of trying to work out what your keywords might be is to sit down and write a list. Think about your products and your business, and just write them all down or put them in a spreadsheet, however you like
Mhm.
to work. Talk to your friends and your family about the sorts of things they would type into Google when they're looking to buy jewelry, and do a few searches yourself.
Yeah.
And you may have noticed that when you start typing into Google, you get all these suggestions coming
Mm.
up, and they can be really useful for kind of generating ideas. And it's just to do that, and it's quite a big process. And if you want to do it properly, you should spend quite a bit of time. Ideally, I know we don't all have lots of that kind
Yeah.
of time doing it. I mean, there are some free keyword research tools out there that you can use, and paid ones often offer a kind of a free trial period as well, because you then want to understand the search volumes for those keywords.
Mhm.
So, search volumes, how the average number of searches for those keywords per month.
Sure.
So that depending on how niche your product or your area is, you don't necessarily want to be creating loads of content around a keyword that's either not generating any searches,
Yeah.
or very few.
Mhm.
And then on the flip side, the really competitive keywords that perhaps generating a lot of searches, but it's going to be much harder for you to rank higher. So you kind of need to, yeah, weigh up the balance, and
Yeah.
have a few of each,
Okay.
basically. Um, uh, yeah, so it's a kind of a really big job basically, and it's something that should be done if you want to do it properly, done really kind of thoroughly, and when you do it, you'll come up with potentially thousands of potential keywords, and then from that you want to drill down to a short list of kind of 12, 16 or 20 or so.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, that's kind of getting into the weeds of it there, but yeah.
Okay. All right. That's really useful, I think, as a sort of starting point. And I mean, are there some, I'm getting the sense from what you're saying, it's like it's obviously a really big topic and you can go really into the detail, but are there some kind of easy, like quick wins that people can do on their website just to kind of get things going?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult because talking about quick wins would kind of reduce the impact of SEO, and it is a long-term strategy, a long-term kind of gain. So, but also a lot of the SEO activities that you do are kind of accompaniments to what you're doing already, if you see what I mean. So, when you're writing blogs and contents, that the SEO aspect is just sort of enhancements to that, making sure you're hanging all your content around a keyword or a key phrase helps you to keep focus and keep that piece of blog on topic. And when you're improving the conversion rates on your website, that's obviously an SEO kind of activity as well. So it's difficult. I mean, I suppose the quickest win in that sense would be to do a technical audit on your website, and not all websites are gonna need one, because the technical aspects might be fine. So I suppose speaking to someone just to check, are there issues with my website? Is any broken links and things like that? Is when I do that search in Google, are all my pages coming up? Is my home page there? Then that, I suppose, is because it's a kind of a technical review of what needs doing. So that's probably the quickest win, if you could describe it that way. But yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned blogging a couple of times. I mean, presumably because you can incorporate lots of keywords into blogs, that is a good way of improving things. But have you got any tips in terms of what people might need to think about when they're writing a blog?
Yeah. So definitely, as I kind of touched on a little bit, it's important to, when you're coming up with your kind of your plan or your outline for your blog, is to have the keyword or the key phrase in mind that you want that blog to be ranking for. And that helps you to kind of stick to topic. And if you find that actually you're kind of going off onto other tangents, then perhaps that's opportunities for other separate blogs that could either be part of a series or kind of completely separate themselves.
Is it best then to stick to quite a narrow topic, would you say? So if you're going to do a blog post, I'm trying to think of an example now, but different what's chain styles suit me best, or what earrings shape suit me best, or something like that. Is it better to be very specific, and then, as you say, if it sort of starts to veer into something else, that you save that for another blog post?
Yeah. So definitely. So in your example, it would be, you would have the bracelets as a separate one, and then one about an earrings would be separate. I mean, if you had a kind of maybe a top 10 jewelry styles for 2024, you would list those out, and if you found certain of the points were worthy of a kind of a separate blog in itself, then you could link to it and say, I talk about this particular style for 2024 in more detail, over here, and link over to it. So yeah, definitely you need to kind of stick to the topic, because it will be that page that ranks for the keywords. You need to remember it's not your website as a whole that ranks for keywords, it's the individual pages on your site.
So does it then make sense to link, if you had a blog post, say about, I don't know, necklace styles, does it then make sense to link to products that you make and sell on your own website?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. you know what you're doing. So yeah, absolutely. Talk about the styles, and then link to your own products, and give some reasonings, and link to other products as well that you like. It shows that you're not just writing it as a sales piece, because you remember it's supposed to be useful and interesting. So yes, absolutely, it's the opportunity to include your own products as well.
Okay. And what about those sort of posts which are kind of more, I suppose, less helpful, but more about the inspiration or the ideas, say, behind a collection? Is it still worth having those, or are they sort of less important?
Yeah, no, definitely, because it's all it all gives those reasons as to why people should buy from you, because people buy products because they like them, but they also buy from people, don't they? Because they like the person, or they like what that person's about, or the brand, what they stand for. And so it's nice to read the story behind why something's being developed or created, why a collection's being put together. So yeah, absolutely, that's really important.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
So thinking about SEO overall, I mean, is there an amount of time that you'd recommend that people spend on doing SEO activities every week, every month, or does it just vary according to what you're working on?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it does depend on how sort of big and complex your website is, and how much you want to kind of get out of SEO. But for smaller sites, certainly it's as I've said, it does sort of feed into many of the tasks that you're doing anyway. So it's a kind of an accompaniment to the blogging, or improving your product pages. So I mean, it depends on how you work, but I wouldn't necessarily kind of sit down and think, right, I've got an hour to do my SEO.
Yeah.
It's
It might be something like working on your product descriptions or something like that.
Yeah, I've got an hour to be working on my product descriptions, and SEO feeds into that.
All right, that's good to know. And I mean, is it something, because I suppose for lots of people, they're thinking about doing things in a, fairly cost-effective way, things that they can do themselves. But when would you advise getting someone in to help you with your SEO activities? Is it always things that you can do yourself, or is there a point at which it's worth bringing in an expert to help?
I mean, absolutely. At the end of the day, a lot of SEO is all about trial and error. There's not necessarily a blueprint that's going to work on your site compared to other sites. So absolutely, if you've got the time, and you're willing to kind of learn and read around the subject, then absolutely go for it, and try it, see what happens. What I would say is try and measure what the impact of what you're doing. So have a snapshot, be aware of the current state of your website in terms of visitors and sales, and that sort of thing. And then once you've done a few changes and things, and after a period of time, and that's difficult to know how long it might take, but a month or two at least, then look back and think, and assess the sort of the impact of what you're doing. And it's not always clear cut. It can be difficult to know for sure, but at least by looking at the numbers, you have some sort of idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, that kind of brings me on to my next question, which was how do I know if it's making a difference? But I guess it's about, as you say, it's about sort of tracking where things are going. So what sort of things would you look at? Number of visitors to the website and conversion rate, and anything else we should be looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how many visitors, where they're coming from as well. So which channels? So is it organic or SEO? Is it direct? So people putting in your website directly? Is it from email activity you're doing? Is it from social? So understanding, where they're coming from and the proportion of visitors from those different channels is important as well. So if you know that, roughly 30-40% of your traffic is coming from organic or search engines, then how is that proportion changing over time when you're doing some work on it? So yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Okay. And where do we find that data? Is that Google Analytics that people need to set up, or is it something that their own website providers will give them?
Yeah, so many website platforms. So if you have Shopify or something similar, then that will provide you with kind of top level website analytics when you log on and have a look. That will give you those sessions and orders and revenue and conversion rate. But if you do want more detailed analytics about your website, then something like Google Analytics is really valuable. It does provide a huge amount of information, most of which you will probably never need. To be honest, I just touch the surface when it comes to products like that. But it does allow you to kind of drill down into so many areas, look at conversion paths and so the routes that people are taking through your website to complete a conversion and where they're potentially dropping off in the process. So I would suggest that you try and focus on kind of 4 or 5 metrics that are most important for you and your business, and it doesn't necessarily matter what those are, and note them down somewhere and kind of keep track of them over time. And that's what I would sort of recommend.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I think it's always important with those things, isn't it? Because sometimes our perception of what's changed is not the reality. So actually having some figures in front of you where you can see what difference it's making is quite helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So important.
All right, brilliant. So any final tips you want to share with us for people who are sort of wanting to get started with SEO?
Well, yeah, what I would say is to really think about and be clear in your mind about why you want to improve your website's SEO, and try to focus on the aspects that are going to make the most difference to your business. So if your website has low traffic, it would make sense to focus on activities that are going to drive more traffic. And so that is usually doing things like creating more content, doing the keyword research, all those sort of content-based activities. If your website has a low conversion rate, then focus on the things that are going to improve that. Is it, do you need to work on your product landing pages? Is it your checkout that's causing a problem? So I'd say you kind of focus your time and efforts, and obviously get some expert advice if you need to on what's going to make the most difference to your website. So if you've got a new website that's been built fairly recently, then you're probably not going to need a technical audit or a really in-depth technical review, because that should all be okay. So there's no point spending time on that. It's looking at other areas that are going to have an impact.
Okay, That's brilliant. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining me today. It's been really, really informative. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's learned absolutely loads. Would you like
Yeah.
to share where people can come and connect with you online?
Yes, so my website address is victoriathomasmarketing.co.uk. LinkedIn, so yeah, you can find me on there, Victoria Thomas.
We can add those to the show notes and then everyone can easily click on them and find you, which would be great. Well,
Thank you.
thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you found that as useful as I did, and wishing you a wonderful week. All right, cheers. Bye.